Tuesday's verdict brought people nationwide out of their homes and into the streets. Worldwide, there were vigils held in honor of George Floyd. As case counts for COVID-19 decline and business regulations are slowly being lifted, restaurants have been able to reopen for outdoor dining. Behind me is Mari Obb's piece, and her piece is actually on display on the way to baggage claim. Last fall, the Long Beach Airport partnered with the Art Council for Long Beach to fund pandemic-inspired art to be on display at the airport. Earlier this March, the 20-piece exhibit was finally unveiled.
Super happy that I got this opportunity to put my work up in a place where a lot of people will see it. I was just really excited about the idea of people maybe being uplifted by it.
The exhibit is part of the Art Council's work with LB Suffrage 100, a local group whose mission is to educate and celebrate the 19th Amendment. All artists were commissioned $500 for their work.
Really nice to kind of put a colorful front, at least for something, so gloomy like this. And especially because travel was affected so heavily, I think it's, such a perfect spot.
Nudia Ortiz, who goes by the name Miss Yellow, is one of the artists chosen for the project. Her art piece, I Miss You, We Got This, was the inspiration behind the exhibit's title.
One is I miss you, that the obvious, and the other one is hey, being optimistic, we got this, don't worry, we could do this.
For the next 6 months, travelers get to enjoy the artwork as they walk through the hallways of the airport. Behind me is Mari Obb's piece, and her piece is actually on display on the way to baggage claim.
The piece that I did kind of captures that idea of being present, which is not living the past and not living the future, and just being in the small space of right now.
You can also find an online version of the exhibit on the airport's website. I'm Nadia Villanueva with Campus Connection.
All rise for the jury.
Like many around the country, Long Beach students awaited the verdict of former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin. On Tuesday, 12 jurors convicted the former police officer of murdering George Floyd. Chauvin was found guilty of second-degree murder, third-degree murder, and manslaughter.
Very happy with how the case turned out. As a young person of color myself, it's bittersweet.
For those in the Long Beach community who felt Chauvin was guilty, this was only a small victory in a bigger fight against police brutality and accountability.
While it seems like there's been some justice done today by him being found guilty, every day there's new stories of injustice.
We should make changes to the justice system so that cases like this in the future doesn't take this long.
CSULB President Jane Connolly and the CSULB Police Department both issued out statements via email to all students stating their agreement with the verdict, emphasizing their commitment in fighting against racism and hate.
We understand the importance of partnering with our beach community in order to provide a safe learning and working environment for all.
The police department has partnered with the Office of Equity and Diversity to create a proposal for an on-campus response team meant to respond to non-law enforcement type of calls on campus.
We created a community engagement team that will begin meeting next month to facilitate a positive engagement of ideas between our department and our beach community.
In an email, the Cal State Long Beach Police Department says they will continue to support a guardianship approach to policing, one that will enhance their dedication to the community.
We attended training such as principal policing, implicit bias, and de-escalation techniques.
Tuesday's verdict brought people nationwide out of their homes and into the streets. Worldwide, there were vigils held in honor of George Floyd. Chauvin is facing up to 40 years in prison for the death of George Floyd. I'm Nadia Villanueva with Campus Connection. As case counts for COVID-19 decline and business regulations are slowly being lifted, restaurants have been able to reopen for outdoor dining. As long as restaurants and their workers follow safety regulations, which include keeping tables 6 to 8 feet apart with only 50% capacity, sanitizing regularly, and having service workers wear masks at all times, they will be allowed to remain open to serve outside dining only.
Safety is always first, that they should wash their hands. We've implemented this rule every hour where we sanitize everything that we touch, so that kind of keeps us safe and reassure the employees that we care about them.
To help with worker safety, Mayor Robert Garcia announced via Twitter his plans to push vaccinations to include food workers as well, stating plans of a supersized clinic to be held Friday at Long Beach's Convention Center, with 3,000 slots open for restaurant workers, including supermarket workers, restaurant service workers, cooks, and anyone in the food industry. Justin Ahn, a Long Beach bartender who has served the community for 3 years, is among the many food workers in line for vaccinations.
It's definitely something that's very necessary, and I think it's going to be required in the job soon, so I definitely want to get one. It is a little worrying because you see the people getting symptoms, but those are just typical symptoms.
There has not been a set date yet as to when restaurants can reopen for indoor dining or when restrictions will be completely lifted. However, markets and restaurants have been directly contacted to ensure all employees begin the vaccination process. I'm Nadia Villanueva with Campus Connection.